Insights. These conversations are intended to add, contextualize or add different voices to plays that are on our stages. And tonight, I'm so happy to welcome Peter Jemison here today. He's an esteemed artist, administrator, curator, editor, and writer. Through his art, Jemison has explored a variety of topics from creating political works that portray contemporary social commentary to those that reflect his relationship with the natural world. Widely shown and collected, Jemison's works are rooted in the framework of Native American art, known for his naturalistic paintings and series of works done on brown paper bags. His art embodies Orenda, am I pronouncing that right? The traditional Haudenosaunee Iroquois belief that every living thing and part of creation contains a spiritual force. Last April, Peter accepted an S.E. Calhoun Diversity in the Arts Award from Geva on behalf of the Seneca Art and Cultural Center at Ganadigan with a strong declaration about Seneca Nation sovereignty. I thought of Peter in conjunction with the controversy over when Jennifer Lopez sang "This Land Is Your Land" for the inauguration. And there was a lot on social media and in the media. And recently I saw an article where Rebecca Nagle, host of This Land podcast and member of the Cherokee Nation, stated, "I don't care if you think Woody Guthrie is good or bad. I want to live in a country that believes in the rights of indigenous nations." Indigenous citizens are so often left out of the larger conversation that it is no surprise that Guthrie's omission has not had any impact on its ascendancy to anthem status, evidenced by its entry in NPR's list of the most important musical works of the 20th century, which fails to note this issue. This Land Is Your Land is not the problem, but that many offer the song without critique may be more telling than the lyrics themselves. And I just want to say that. And then
well, thanks, Rachel, for inviting me, and thank all of you for sticking around. I'm just going to tell you a couple stories, and maybe I'll find whatever it is I'm going to talk about. In the 1980s, which seems like a long time ago, but it wasn't really, I ran an art gallery in New York City, in Soho, and my main thing was I was showing contemporary Native American art, and showed some Native Canadian artists and even some artists from Bolivia and Brazil, very traditional style of work they did. But that was kind of a political act, just to run an art gallery in the heart of the art world at the time and showing Native American art, which was not widely accepted at all, mostly ignored. I shouldn't say completely, because we did get reviews in different publications, including the New York Times and a paper called Village Voice at the time, and so forth. On one occasion, running that gallery, periodically we did benefits, and Pete Seeger came to sing. And I got to meet Pete Seeger and to have a conversation with him, at the same time hear him sing. And just a very humble, real guy. It was a pleasure to meet him. And that made me think that he had traveled with Woody Guthrie. And, the other person who I've never met, but whom I've heard talk about, he went to see Woody Guthrie in the hospital, and that was Bob Dylan. And certainly paying homage to someone that he knew had all the right words and had lived the experiences he sang about. And I guess that's what I've been doing too, is living what I create art about, and trying to find a way to express it in a way that reflects our experience, our lived experience, and at the same time has enough of a universal message to perhaps reach other people and bring consciousness to them. So often, Native American issues are are really totally unknown. And people believe that we don't even exist. When we talk to other Native people in the Southwest, for example, they find it hard to believe, because we live here in New York State. They find it hard to believe that there's still nations here in New York State existing. And for a long time, I advocated for my nation on behalf of the return of our human remains, our sacred objects, and our cultural patrimony from various museums and universities and so forth. And I found that I was oftentimes the one being quoted for the things I said about the importance of this work. And I was guided by my elders, who gave me that charge of working to bring home and put in the ground our people, taking them out of cardboard boxes and placing them back in the earth, letting them continue their journey. And I didn't make a lot of friends, of course, in the museum world, but I didn't hold anything against those people. My main mission was to bring home our sacred objects and cultural patrimony, which is for us swath. So, and what I'm saying is that when I would be speaking, they would find it hard to believe that I was Seneca and that I came from New York State. I'd grown up in a community of other Senecas and, our experiences. Just the other day, not too long ago, just a few days ago, court ruled in our favor, in favor of the Seneca Nation, that in 1954, when New York State took land from our people to create the thruway through our territory of Cattaraugus, we were never really compensated for that land taking. And it was all done without the involvement of the federal government. And this is really directly related to treaties that say that this has to happen, to the Trade and Intercourse Act, which particularly says the federal government must be involved in any land transaction with the Native nation. And all of that was done without any of that. And it's taken from 1954 to 2 or 3 days ago for the court to finally decide that we were wronged by that act. I was there the day that thruway exit was dedicated. Governor Abraham Harriman was there in 1956, I guess it was. We walked from my elementary school up the road, and we walked to that spot where the thruway exchange comes off into Irving, the town that I grew up in, a border town of the Cattaraugus Reservation. So I lived long enough to see something come, back around, and finally, what that justice will mean and what compensation may come from it, I have no idea. But that's what I mean. Y'all probably never heard it, never even thought of it. We just roll on through our territory. And for a long time, over the last few years, ours was the worst stretch of thruway in the state, because we're in a dispute with the state telling them, you have to have our permission to come and pave this road because it's our land. And they didn't want to believe it. Finally, that people compelled, and they came and fixed our road across the through as it crosses our territory. I could go on and on about the things that are going on right now. Right now. Right now, the governor won't sit down with my people to negotiate a compact over our right to have gaming. It's a federal law that gives us that permission. And right now, the governor is saying she can't sit down with us because it's a conflict of interest, because her husband works basically with 2 of the casinos that are run by the state inside of the territory that we have an exclusivity to. The one at Buffalo Raceway and the one over here at Fingerlings. Right? Her husband works for Delaware North that runs those. And that money she raised for the Bill Stadium, her husband works for Delaware North, which has the concessions that will be inside that stadium. This is Governor Hogle talking about. Okay? And we're trying to bring her to the table to negotiate a good compact, a compact that is just and reasonable for us. I can, like I said, I could go on and on, but this is, today. This isn't past tense. And boarding schools, we had a boarding school, Thomas Indian School, right on the reservation. That's where, friends of mine went, experiences they had, difficulties that they went through, the effort to take away our language, to take away our cultural traditions. This is very real. Get punished for speaking our language. They had to speak to each other in secret, to use their language, the language that the Creator gave us. So this is reality that we know. I know. It's just, and like I say, I'm not criticizing what he sang or didn't sing, and I love this performance. I mean, they did a great job singing these songs, bringing them to life. And, they're artists. He was an artist. He was living. And somehow, out of suffering comes incredible art. I know that for myself. It's harder than heck to live it, but out of it will sometimes come incredible art. And rather not have it be that way, you'd rather not be suffering and try to create some good art, but sometimes it takes a little hardship to bring out good art. I don't want to keep your folks here all night. I don't have too much more to say. Go ahead.
One of the things that we talked about before, and that you talked about when we accepted the Essie Award last April, was Seneca sovereignty. What does that mean?
Well, to me, Seneca sovereignty means that, first of all, we have a language. It's our own language. It's our original language. And we're doing our best to preserve that language, to honor the fluent speakers that we still have, and to encourage those that have learned and are taking over to conduct our ceremonies. All of our ceremonies are conducted in our language. And so we have to have the speakers. And we also have to have the comprehension to understand what's being said. So in addition to language, we have land. Land that we're now left with after all these years. But we have sovereign territories. And then we have our own government, our own form of government. Somewhat imposed on us by the New York State. It's an elective system of government, but we elect our own government. I don't vote in national, I don't vote in state or local elections because my nation represents me to the U.S. And we have the right to hunt, fish. We have the right to traffic. We have the right to use our land as we see, to grow what we want to grow, to make it productive for us. And, we have to live according to our own way of life. We call it the way of life of the original human beings. We have to live that way because that's who we are. And we can't stop being that if we're going to survive into the future. We must remain who we are. That's key to us. Our survival is to be who we are. And so that's what sovereignty, I'm probably leaving all the stuff I could say, but that's what it means to me. And I play a very small part in that. I don't mean to, I'm not trying to downplay anything, I'm telling you the truth. And I'm doing well. I want you to understand that. Recognition has come to me. And it has come to me in ways that I never thought would happen. Honest to God, never thought would happen. And it has happened. And I'm living with it, I'm trying to figure out exactly how to live with it. Because I lived for so long with what I felt like I was under the radar, And then I find out that many more people knew of me and knew my work than I had realized. I didn't know. But I found that out. And I'm blessed. I've been blessed. I've lived the life I wanted to live. And my wife. And my friends. They all been very kind. I can't say anymore. Thank you.
So much.